Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Lake County. I'm your host, David Rich, spelled R-Y-C-H. We have a special guest on here tonight. We have Hilary Winiarz, who is a candidate for Lake County Board. Hilary, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you for so much coming on. Last week I was able to interview Jennifer Bannock and Aaron Cartwright Weinstein. I'm still reaching out to Eric Reinhardt. I watched his debate last week. That was intense. So I'm so glad to have you on for a multitude of reasons because you're a local candidate. That's good. This is a local Lake County show.
Yep.
I try to get it out to as many people as I can. Still working on that. But you're running for Lake County Board, and I want to say I've said this on other shows before, like how important local politics are. In a sense, day to day, it's more important than state and federal level. Those both have their places and importance too, for sure. Military, national infrastructure, all sorts of stuff. But where the rubber hits the road in your day to day life, it's local politics makes politicians making those decisions from your township, whatever, to your district, Fremont, Ela, Avon, whatever it may be,
Yep.
to your county, which is you, and the county board maintains a great deal of political potency over county-wide politics. Okay, I had Chief Chris Cavelli on here a few months ago. He's talking about like I asked him like, well, who does like all your staffing and blah blah. Who makes all these decisions? Oh, he's like, oh, the county board. I'm like, wow, so like for the county sheriff's department, which is hugely important. The county board has a lot of power, and it's important, I think, for the public to know and to meet and to greet the local candidates, people who would potentially become ones, and the ones that are already in place, to talk to them and find out what they're all about. So thank you for coming on the show. That was a long-winded say of saying hi. Thanks for doing what you're doing. But
Thank you. No, really, thank you for having me. I'm very grateful for being able to have time with you and to talk to all of your listeners and make sure they understand who I am, and which is primarily that I want to know who they are. That is my
Right.
bottom line. I've always been a seek to understand before being understood person. So this I'm the grateful one. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. All right. Well, tell us how you got to this point. Tell us about your kind of your path within politics, social, economic movements, what have you.
Well, I've been really involved for a while now. I think we all have a bit of an origin story of
Fine.
how we became, and perhaps involved in politics, but more, I think more to the point, how we started paying attention and what we wanted to do with whatever we started paying attention to, like what we wanted to do about that, what kind of action we wanted to take. And I think some people's origin story begins when they're really young and they know they want to be work in government, be a politician. Like my son, he wants to be a career staffer, and he has
Wow.
loved government and politics and specifically presidential history since he was a wee thing. He has known the presidents backwards and forwards since he was 8 years old, and he's been able to do at least a big jumble of them since he was like 4, because my dad could, and so it's kind of trickled down. And
How old is your son now?
He's 20 and he is at American University studying political science.
Wow, good for him. I want him on the show. That's cool.
Oh, he would probably be able to run rings around my knowledge. He's very, very good. He lapped me a long time ago. And he was also an intern with the Lake County Dems this year too, this past summer. So he's really great. And so some people know that way back then when they're young, and some people's origin story begins way later. There's something that happened or that it was like a fulcrum in their lives. And for me, my origin story happened on after election day, 2016, when I put my little boy to bed. He was 11 years old and he was quite sure Hillary Clinton would win, as were we all.
We all were. I went to bed and he was, Trump was a little bit ahead. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, it's like,
I woke up at like 3. I woke up like 3 a.m. and I was like, anyway.
What is happening?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So, he goes to bed thinking, of course, it's going to be Hillary Clinton. And he wakes up in the morning and I have to tell him, no, actually, it's Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And he looks at me with these eyes. And again, he's 11. And he says, what are we going to do? And I broke. I broke.
Yeah.
Part of me just literally just broke. And I'm like, mommy has to do something. Mommy has to fix something. I have to do something. And this is way before Michelle Obama said, do something. But that's what I said. I said, I have to do something. I don't know. What can I do? I don't know. So my synagogue was like, we have to take action, just like a bunch of people, like a lot of organizations across America were horrified and were like, what can we do? Let's mobilize. My synagogue mobilized. This is Shir Hadash in Wheeling. And they said, hey, we're going to have a meeting and we're going to talk about what we can do. And a lot of people showed up. A ton of people showed up. It was almost
That's
like a
encouraging to hear. That's great.
Yeah. I don't know if you understand what a high holidays crowd is, but like, you know, you have your so a high holidays crowd is almost like the Easter Sunday or Holy Thursday kind of crowd where it's like suddenly everybody comes. So there were quite, maybe not a high holiday size, but it was quite a lot of people.
Right.
And it was almost like standing room only in the synagogue. And we divided up by cabinets. And so I went to the environmental cabinet and other people went to other cabinet positions. And we talked about, okay, who's the likely cabinet? This was not like the next day. It was maybe a couple of weeks later. And so who's the likely, if not already known, cabinet lead for that cabinet position, whatever. And what do we know about them? And how can we mobilize them? What can we do? And so I started there. And the Facebook group started and the stuff started happening. And eventually things kind of trail off, you know. And from there, I started getting involved because of them. I started getting involved with the Democratic Party in Elah Township, which is where I live. Yep. And I learned all kinds of things. I helped with stuff. And one day somebody said to me, you know, and I honestly don't remember who anymore, but somebody said, you know, there is an open position in your precinct for a precinct committee person. You should do it. And I said, okay. And so I had to get written in because it was too late to get on the ballot. And I got like 3 times the amount of signatures I needed or whatever it was. And so I then became a precinct committee person and I would go to the Elah Township, you know, Democratic meetings. And from there, I'm at a meeting. And so now come even further. Now, you know, Biden's already president. And this is last year after much mobilization and participating as an Elah Democrat. I was at a random meeting and they were talking about a couple topics. And I was like, wait, what's this? Hold on, what? And I kept asking question after question after question because I didn't know about some of the things they were talking about. And it was all pretty fascinating. I'm like, well, why is this? And why is that? And are we sure about this? And blah, blah, blah. And I had a friend who texted me during the meeting saying, stop talking or they will ask you to run. And sure enough, the next day, Nancy Shepherdson, who's the vice chair of the Lake County Democrats, she was on that call. She says, you know, Hilary, this conversation's familiar. She says, you know, there's an open position. There's a Republican who's running unopposed right now, and you might want to think about for the Lake County Board running against that person. He only won by like 147 votes, 152, 47, something like that. So less than 100 and like less than 200 votes this person won by. And this is a flippable district, and you should think about it. And I thought about it for about a minute and a half, and I said, you know what, I think I want it. And my husband reminded me, you know, you work for corporate America and they might have a policy that you can't hold public office. I said, of course they don't. What? No, it's fine.
I'm not sure that would even be legal.
Well, actually.
Is it? Okay. That sounds like a very strange corporate, like you're not allowed to run in politics is odd to me.
Well, you're allowed to. So I did look and sure enough, you're allowed to run, but you're not allowed to hold. And so
that's just silly.
If you lose, it's like, you know, no harm, no foul. Well, so I realized at that point, do you remember when in Friends, when Phoebe takes the pregnancy test away from Rachel and says, do you want to know? And she says, okay, you're not pregnant. And then
she starts crying and she's like, no, actually you are.
Yeah.
And then but now you know how you really feel about it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so I said, oh, I do want this. I know how I feel. So I had to go through an exception process at work, and so if you win, you go through an exception process, and I already
Oh.
got pre-screened and all that, so I'm allowed, and I'm free. I'm good. So as long as I recuse myself from anything that's a conflict of interest, which of course I would. So
Sure.
anyway, that is how. Aren't you glad you asked? Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
No, that's a great story. I love that. The whole thing is fabulous. Starting with your son at 11, no, at 4, and up through like corporate
Yeah.
America. No, that's fantastic. Cover the whole
Yeah.
like spectrum of like American life.
Yeah, and it's all absolutely exactly how as described. I mean, it was that quick, and it was that. I mean, it wasn't just something that I wanted to do because I'm like, I think I want to run. Like people said, Hilary, you might want to think about this, and I said, oh, I didn't really consider that ever, but now I am, and this is how I do. This is how I do something. This is how I do something. Now I know what I want to do,
Yeah.
and I love the local aspect of it. That's what's
That's what
important.
I love too.
Yes, because I think that there are so many talented people running at state levels and at national levels that are Republicans and Democrats, and
Mhm.
that is their calling. And I don't know, maybe I'll have a calling for that one day, but that's not my calling. My calling is not that. I mean, they're adding value, really good value. I want to add value locally, where
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, it does matter what your party is for a lot of different measures, but at the Lake County Board, a lot of what we do, so much of what I say we, like I'm there already, what they do is bipartisan. And it doesn't matter if there's an R after your name or a D after your name. It doesn't matter if you're a voter or not a voter. Doesn't matter. Those things that are in the scope of the Lake County Board are going to affect absolutely everybody. I mean it. And I mean, whether you're full MAGA or you are as left as you can be, I want to represent you. I want to be part of making policy or stopping bad policy. I want to affect good change where needed for everybody, my son, his friends, the people in Lake County, whether they're my family or not. I care about that quality of life for them. And that's just
Yeah.
the truth.
That's great. No, that's fantastic. And those are the right reasons to run for a local county, especially countywide office like that. Everything you said is spot on, accurate. Yeah, I think what it is, it's just like sociologically or maybe psychologically, the closer something is to like affecting you and your day to day life, the more important it's going to become to you, of course, and as well as it should be.
Yeah.
And I think more people have things in common than they do in difference when it comes to again, their people want good education and good housing and proper food and water not polluted and
Yeah.
and their soil or their air polluted or anything
And
like that. They want the
deserve no
family
love.
structure. They want family. They want to get married and have kids. They want their kids to have proper education and fun and like the right places to go to hang out and
Yeah.
a safe community and stuff like that. And all that occurs for 99% of that occurs in the local level.
Yep.
Okay,
100.
so I mean, there might be assistance from the state level here and there, but I mean, the political decision making concerning each and all those things, and real estate and zoning too. I didn't mention that. Owning a house happens on the county level and the local level, the more
There's so
local level.
many things that happen on every level that
Yeah,
affect you locally, but there's
yeah,
the vast majority of the kind of things that we do every day that we sort of don't think about as they're happening. And we don't really, and that's part of, it's not, I don't want to say it's a problem with the Lake County Board, it's a challenge
there you
because
go.
right now people are listening to generally one side or the other, and all this local stuff is on no one's agenda. And so you
Right.
don't hear about it until I'm knocking on your door saying, hello, I'm here. This is why. And did you know? And here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to listen to what's important to you. I'm going to take care of your forest preserves. I'm going to take care of our county roads. And if it's not a county road, but it impacts a county road, I'm going to have my eye on that as well.
Right.
I want to help people be able to afford affordable housing here who already work here. They should be able to live here. I'm going to take care of the environment for us. I'm going to work on reducing gun violence where I can. These are the things that are everyday life for us here that people don't really, I mean, things cost money. And if we want to have them, we have to figure out how to pay for them. And that we're talking about roads and bridges and clean water. And that's the local stuff. That's the stuff
Yeah.
that we do every day.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's very well said. let's talk about the environment because you mentioned that several times. So I'm inferring that it's important to you, which
It
is good. It should be important to everybody, especially nowadays because it's such a disaster. And I am certified in horticulture. I'm a
Oh, cool.
professional gardener. I've been doing it for like 6 years now. And I was in the Green Party for up until like about 2 weeks ago.
Oh
Then
my,
I reconverted back to Democrat. Yeah, that's a long story.
that's
Anyway,
really
but my main reason for doing that was because of the emphasis on the environment. Now it turns out they don't really do that, but anyway, I'll talk about that off air.
oh my.
Yeah, that was a tough decision to make, but I did, and that's why I'm here. Yeah, so the environment is very. I've done tons. I mean, I hosted the Illinois Green Party series for almost 4 years, and I
Wow.
mean, I interviewed world-renowned scientists and from physicists and biologists and all sorts of agriculturalists and so on. And it's a pretty bleak situation going on globally with climate change and everything like that. But locally, on the local level, you talked about like the Lake County Farmers Bureau and stuff like that, like farming and like, you know, and I do know that there is like an attempt at a transition of like even the farming community going a little more sustainable in their practices instead of just dousing everything with Roundup. You know, and killing everything with glyphosate. There's trends being implemented now. So speak to the environment and what your passion is there.
Oh my goodness. I absolutely care about the environment, and I'm still learning a lot about things that I think a lot of people just assume to be true, but don't really know the nuance
Right.
of, like renewable energy. I'm really passionate about looking for renewable energy sources and
Good.
ways to use them here locally. Um, and we're talking about things like solar. I love the Bill Maher's story. Have you ever listened to Bill Maher's story about getting his solar panels?
No.
It's quite a thing. Now, I don't want to visit that upon what we do here, but
Okay.
I think a lot because I have no idea how that would work here. But I can tell you
Okay.
that his nightmare of trying to get solar, I think, can really turn people off, and I don't
Sure.
want that to happen. I would like to be a voice, or at least a platform for a voice that knows the details of how things can be done and how things can be applied to the average ordinary person, and not like a great big uh, company who says we're going to invest this much in renewable energy, we're going to do this, we're going to give 2 million of our dollars in corporate America to just this uh, composting section, this building in the composting, or there's so many things that can be done. We're talking everyday people. I think that renewable energy is key, and I'm really, really interested in how to apply that. I don't know that answer, but I want to find it and learn more about it from our SMEs, our subject matter experts on this. Whether it's that or other forms of renewable energy, it's not just about solar. There's more.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot to.
There's solar. There's water. There's well, I mean, some would include nuclear, some wouldn't. We'll talk about that later.
I can't
Um,
imagine that.
Geothermal is a
I,
big one. Hydrogen's a big one. There's all sorts of
wind,
alternatives to fossil fuels.
yeah, wind. I mean, all
Wind,
kinds.
sorry, yes, yep.
I mean, I do not. Our next car is going to be an electric car, or at least a hybrid. I would love to own a Tesla, but I will not give that man any money, so that's not happening.
That's a tough one. Yeah,
That's not happening.
he's a peculiar figure because he's like really
Mm,
he believes climate change is happening. That's why he's doing the electric car thing. But then he sides with Trump, who thinks it's a hoax. I mean, that guy's
Well,
weird. Anyway,
the kinds of things that you're supporting when I can't, and I don't want to like
I hear you.
who's choosing to buy a Tesla, but I certainly will not. And there are other car makers who have electrics, so I have other
Oh,
options. But
sure,
that
sure,
will be
sure.
our next car. Like, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and that'll be. And you know what? Change is hard. It'll be hard. I like a key. I like a key to go vroom. I like that. That's what I want. But life has moved on. It's
Right.
my dad has often said to me, you have to sometimes accept change, or you will be left behind. And I have always thought about that. And so, yeah, change is
It's a
hard.
very wise saying because things are, especially in like a country like America where like the markets kind of determine so much. The markets always have to be innovative to sustain their businesses, right?
Yeah.
So you're just kind of constantly get like innovative technology from our economic system, which is very cool. Don't get me wrong, I love my phone. Okay, and I remember when I was a child not having one. I remember having to get up and walk across a very long living room to change the channel on the TV. You know,
I
so
would
that's
sit
how
there
old I am.
this
Yeah,
close.
exactly. You sit there like, like,
My
and then you
mom would
don't
say,
find anything, so you end up, it's just ridiculous. But
yeah,
no, I mean, yeah. So it's very good that you really should keep up with changes. And right now, it's not even a change for the sake of like luxury, convenience, or anything like that. It's necessity.
it is necessity. And it's not just about the active as well. It's not just actively doing something specifically environmental. There are downstream impacts. So for instance, when people who live where they work in the same county, so let's just say someone lives in, I don't know, Evanston, and they're coming up here to work in Lake County because they can't afford Lake County. If we're able to help with more affordable housing for people who work here, guess what? Their commute is smaller, and that's
Well,
going to help with the car emissions and your footprint reducing. And it's also going to give them more time with their families. And these are the kinds of downstream impacts that I'm also thinking about. Not everything has to be a very proactive primary
right.
fix or measure.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just a more holistic view than that. So
Oh, 100%.
I am very much worried about our environment. I want it to be here. Climate change is real. I mean,
Oh, yes.
it is. I think most people accept that now. But you cannot boil the ocean. The minute we start to boil the ocean, we are going to fail. We have to take on the challenges that we can, whether sometimes they'll be hard, sometimes they won't be as hard, but we do have to prioritize. And those are tough decisions. And I don't pretend to have all the answers right now as I sit here either. I will learn some of this once I'm on the board. And I don't think the board members necessarily know them all right now either. They're also learning as measures come up, as things are like, okay, here's an issue we need to solve. I want to be part of solving those issues. I'm not going to be able to fix things before I die one day, but I can help with some. And I want to be part of leaving something sustainable, equitable for not just my kid,
Mm-hmm.
but his friends and people I don't even know's kids in the far other reaches of Lake County and all the other counties that touch us, that want to use, that are going to be benefiting from our forest preserves and other areas. So this is really what drives me.
It's good. No, that's good. That's very important. And if you ever want to chat about it, I've done years of research on climate change and horticulture and agriculture. And I actually tried to give I was going to say is one thing I think that is important for this issue, this topic of just the environment in general, is getting people, the citizenry, more interested in understanding what's going on and how to do things at their own houses that can help.
I would love to talk about that in the future with
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
If I'm not elected, please keep me in your speed dial because I would still like to
absolutely.
talk about it.
Okay.
I also plan to do office hours once a month. That is my big
Mhm.
plan when it comes to outreach and talking to people, because every board member has a newsletter, which is really good newsletter. I want to do more than the newsletter. I want to have outreach. I want to have office hours. I want to bring in speakers to talk about like the rusty patch bumblebee or what's going on with solar or any topic that impacts people, whether it's environmental or something else. I want to bring people in for, say, a half hour, an hour, and talk about it and let residents hear it. And then the next hour, just be reachable and talk with them, and they can talk with me and be really in it with my constituents. And that's something I absolutely would love to talk about doing with you going forward.
Absolutely. Let's definitely put a pin in that. We'll look at give that a look again after the election. Okay.
Awesome.
Do you have an opponent, or is there?
I sure
Who's your
do.
Who's your opponent?
Yes. His name is Adam Schlick, and he has been in the role for 2 years. And I think the primary difference between us is the integration of actually meeting with people. I do not pretend to know exactly what he has done. I don't want to put words in his mouth or make assumptions, but I everyone I have talked to, and I've knocked on thousands of doors since February. I've been knocking on doors in my district,
Wow.
every single town in my district. I have been knocking doors since February, rain or shine, unless it's a really big storm. I learned my lesson. If it's truly a storm,
We
don't
had
do
a
that.
few earlier this summer. We had like
Oh my.
tornadoes and like, hail and all sorts. Yeah.
That was a mistake. But
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, even if it's raining, I'm out there. Any number of people will tell you, yeah, that chick showed up with her, umbrella. That was me. Yeah,
That's right.
rain
That's
or
how you do
shine,
it. That's how you do
they
it.
do
You
it.
got to meet these people face to face. That's why like
Yeah.
town hall meetings are becoming more popular, even on like the federal level. And like, why they, I always wondered growing up, like, well, why do they presidential candidates go like state to state and hold rallies? Who cares? That's why. If people,
Yeah.
they need to connect with you like in a more personal, direct, immediate way, for you to have some sort of impact on
Yeah.
their decision making. Yeah, 100%.
I take it really seriously, and I'm not doing it because I have to. It's because I want to. How am
Right.
I supposed to represent people if I don't actually know what's important to them?
That's
I can't
fabulous. That's so
assume what's
good.
important to people just because the scope of the board is these 5 or 6 things. Doesn't mean that those are the things that are on people's minds. You need to ask them. You need to listen to them, and sometimes they don't want
That's
to
a
talk to
really
you.
good point. Don't assume you think you know what the public is wants and needs.
Huge
Ask
mistake.
them.
And every
Ask them.
single That's right. And every
There
person that I've knocked on a door, they have said, "No, I've never met him. He doesn't knock on my door." So, okay. So I mean, again, maybe he's knocked on some that I'm not knocking on, but I've knocked thousands. Not one person has ever said that he showed up at their door. So, that I think is a primary difference between us. Is I am in the community. I'm talking to people, and I am
Yeah.
being very authentic about it. I think the other thing that is an important distinction between us is that he does not attend all of his committee meetings. And I mean, there's always going to be a few you don't make, you have conflicts, you get sick, whatever it might be. He's missed 20 to 25% of his meetings.
Oh.
And that I think is a pretty big deal. Now he has another job. I'm going to have another job, but, and a lot of people have another job, but if you're going to have a job that conflicts with doing the people's work, then I think that you have to think twice about what is your primary job and what is your side gig. So that will not be something that I ascribe to and say that it's okay to miss meetings. It's not okay to miss 25% of your meetings, because that's where all the business happens. Is people don't know that, but like, what's the job of the Lake County Board? Go to a lot of meetings, because that's where you're taking measures. So that's how I'm going to be able to represent people and keep my eye on things. So those are two very big differences between us, I would say.
And those are, definitely big differences for sure.
Yeah.
That's no, those are important. Good. What do you see yourself, like you get elected and you get, I don't know, do the board members go through an inauguration day? Like, I mean, is there a specific, so there's gotta be a specific day you start, right? Is it in January?
So I have asked that question myself because I'm like, oh, there's not that much
It's not going to
time.
be November 6th after the day after. So, I mean,
on November 6th, I am not getting out of bed. But so yeah, there is an inauguration where you're sworn in, and I think all of the new people who are elected will be sworn in, and all of the people who are reelected will, I believe, get resworn in. And I don't know what that day is, but if I'm not mistaken, it is in December. So it's either at the end of November or the beginning of December. I don't know which it is.
Okay.
But
so pretty soon after election day.
Yes, but I know that the county board's November meeting is still, well, I'm nearly sure that the county board's November meeting is still the current board, and that my first, if I win, the new folks that are elected, whether they're reelected or their challengers were elected or whatever it might have been, their first board meeting, I think, is inauguration in December.
Okay.
So, but
gotcha.
do not hold me to that. I'm not 100%.
I will not hold you that. So, all right, very cool. And besides like busy doing door to door, which is impressive, I think that's one of the reasons I don't run for politics. I'm like, I hear about because you kind of, something really important to do. I'm like, I'm not doing that. So that's
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone, man.
I'm a journalist. I like doing stuff like this.
We have that in common. I used to be a journalist myself.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Oh, very cool. So we have a lot to talk about.
It's really funny. Me and Jessica Volitzik, we worked for the same mom and pop newspaper like consecutively, like I worked for them for a couple of years and then she worked for them for the next couple of years, the Journal and Topics. I mean, what are the odds? It's insane. So
that is wild. Yeah, for sure. How is the campaign going otherwise? Are you getting a lot of positive feedback? Are you getting any negative pushback? Any crazy MAGA people at your, sending you weird threats or anything?
I feel like it has gone exceedingly well. I have been really awed by some of the support. This is hard. I'm not going to say that this is easy. This is hard. And you have a couple ways you can go: knock doors or don't knock doors. I choose to knock doors. Right. And I would say that I like to say about 85% of the people I meet at the doors are at least civil. They're at least like, okay, thanks. Like, you take your literature and it might be like here's a piece of my lit. So, you hand it and you say, hi, I'm running for Lake County Board, and you go through your little spiel and they say, okay, great. Thanks very much. And I'll look into you. Okay. Thank you so much. So at least 85% of the people are at that level. Okay. I would say, or better, or much, much better. Even the ones who are clearly not going to vote for me are kind enough to listen and know.
They're not rude or they're not calling you names or telling you to go places.
No. Not, I would say 85% or better definitely are being kind enough to listen, or at least say, no, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm probably not going to vote for you, but thank you anyway. Have a good day. Okay, cool, fine, gotcha. I would say about 10% of the people are a little less than civil. More like, no, I won't vote for a Democrat. Sorry, and they'll say, sorry, just no. Okay, fine. About 5% or less are slamming the door in my face. I've had a couple really disturbing encounters. I will not lie. They were very disturbing. People who were really scary. And that, that happens because that's society, right? Some of society is like that. But I got to say, I can count on one hand how many of my encounters were truly disturbing, and the rest of them were just not. People might not be on my side, but that's okay. They're listening, and I'm listening to them. So it's been going okay.
Okay, well, good. Do you bring somebody with you? I was a bouncer at a bar. Do you need a bodyguard? I offer a multitude of skills.
My dad gets worried about me, where he's like, are you going in their houses? Are you going by yourself? You're not going at night, are you? And I mean, my dad worries about me, and
that's good. He's supposed to.
He is. I know. I'm a lucky girl to have a good mom and dad. But I do go by myself most of the time, because like, if I have to have someone come with me, now they got to leave work. I mean, I'm knocking doors. I work part-time for big business services company, and the other 4 days of the week I'm out there knocking. Some of those days are work days. Now they've got to leave their job, or they've got to make some time, and they have their own lives. And so now suddenly I'm waiting for people to become available. Right, so gotcha. Sometimes I do. My husband drives me around a lot. He doesn't walk with me so much, just because it's much better use of his time to drive me around. But I have really good help from the woman who ran against Adam the first time. Her name is Linda Troster. She and her husband, John, have been amazingly helpful. They've driven me around a lot and walked for me. And a lot of other people are walking now toward the end, only because I have been very militant about me being the one to knock. I don't want people to knock for me. Even though I now need the help, I tried so hard to hit every single door. I couldn't do it. So now I just want to make sure people know I'm here. But I'm basically knocking almost every door myself. And I'm usually by myself.
Okay, well, that's cool. That's very cool. What is your district? What's the number or whatever? And what who's in it?
I should have said that. I'm sorry. I
should have asked that.
That's okay. I'm a talker. Can you tell? District 2, there's 19 total districts. I'm District 2. And that encompasses all of Wakanda, unless Wakanda sits in McHenry County. The rest of it, if it's Wakanda in Lake County, it's all of Wakanda. And then
part of Wakanda is in McHenry County?
Part of it is, yeah.
I didn't know that. That's weird.
Small part. Yeah.
Okay.
So See, now I doubt everything I say now. Like, is that the right thing? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of
No,
something
no,
else.
I trust
Yeah.
you. You would know better than I just never, I didn't, how can a town be in 2 counties? Oh, go ahead.
Apparently it is. Yeah. Small part. So, but all of Wakanda and then parts of Mundelein, Round Lake Park, Hawthorne Woods, where I'm from, and a tiny little sliver of Lake Zurich. And that is my district.
What about Saddlebrook?
Yep, Saddlebrook is in my district, and they have a very strict policy where you are not allowed to knock doors. And I am still not sure what the real, like, what does that mean that you're not allowed? Like, is it legally not allowed, or is it just like
No, it's not legally. It's Saddlebrook's administrative, the company that owns Saddlebrook. It's their policy. I don't think we're even allowed to put up political signs. I live in Saddlebrook,
okay.
and I actually, so which means I voted for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah,
I
they
haven't
have a
wanted
lot
to
of.
get anyone angry. I didn't want anyone to be mad that I just chose to say, okay, no knocking. I respect your no knocking policy.
Right. Yeah. No, you can't leave literature or anything like that. And they have. Yeah.
There is
So
a
okay.
resident who hosted a meet and greet for me though. Really early on, like maybe it was March or April. She was so kind. And she had some folks in her home for me again, really early on. So that you can do. But yeah, you can't knock. But yeah, Saddlebrook is absolutely part of my district. And I'm looking really forward to having a meet and greet with them, even if it's after assuming I win, if it's after the election, I still want to reach out and have a much larger meet and greet. Now that enough time has gone by that, my name is out there and people know, oh, well, now we have a new person. So I'd like to reach out and talk to them.
I could probably help you with that as well.
Thank you.
My mother is very active in this community and knows like everybody.
Oh, awesome.
So, and she voted all Democrat too, by the way. So,
thank you, Mom.
Yeah, so you got at least 2.
Thank you, David's mom.
So anyway, okay. Well, anything else you'd like to plug about the campaign or the upcoming election? Anything you want to talk about?
Oh my gosh. It's really getting down to the wire. And you get this terrible sense of panic. Like I didn't reach this street. I didn't reach that home. There were, you get this panic that you're not going to hit people that want to talk to you. Not everyone wants to talk to you, and that's okay. But right. You do get this sense of panic that you maybe, because you couldn't get to them. And again, it's thousands of doors that even I don't know how many more I have left. And if I hear the real number, I'll crumble because it will just like, no,
it's too much.
It's too much. So that really worries me. I think that the thing I would most want people to know is that I care about hearing what's important to them. And we don't have to agree on everything. It's not my job to push through things that I care about. It's my job to represent people and what's important to them and what's going to make their lives better. And I can't possibly know that through sheer assumption.
Right.
There's some things that are just right and wrong. For me, one of those is reducing gun violence. We have to reduce gun violence. And I'm really passionate about that. And I'll die on that hill. I'm not like coming for your guns, but I'm definitely never going to be okay with a military style assault weapon. Automatic weapons. And we can split hairs all day long about what an automatic weapon really is. I will die on that hill of protecting people with safe storage, safe use, so that we're never going to get rid of all the guns. We have to work within what we have to work with, and doing common sense, removing guns from the hands of minors, removing automatic weapons from people that are only designed to kill a lot of people at one time. I will die on that hill. I will always work on, we don't do reproductive health care on the Lake County Board. We don't have any measures. We have a huge health department and it's wonderful, but we don't have any reproductive health care measures. But if one ever crossed the board, I would be advocating for reproductive health care. I'm endorsed by Personal PAC. I have the distinction from Gun Sense, and I'm proud of those. And so that's something that I will be standing up for if I ever called upon to do that. So there's right and wrong, but then there's what will serve the people in my district. I want to hear what's important to them, no matter who they are. And I think that's the bottom line for me. And that will impact the environment. That will impact farmers. That will impact everybody in one way or another. And I'm here for it. So I think that's the bottom line for me. And again, the distinction between me and my opponent, who might be a very nice person, but I will do it. I want this job, and I will do a way better job because I'm going to be going to the meetings and representing people. And I think that matters. So I hope I hit everything that was relevant.
Well, can we talk a little bit about farms and zoning?
Sure.
Like we discussed before the show a little bit. There's a lot to learn when you get into the office. I understand that nobody knows everything about a job before they get the job.
Yeah.
But you seem well qualified to do it. I know other people on the Lake County Board, and you're definitely spot on, a good choice. But as far as zoning goes, like we were talking before the show, I know one person of mine who owns a farm who's having some difficulty with the board concerning the zoning of their farm because they want to sell stuff, but the board won't let them because their driveway is not properly situated to allow for business traffic in and out. It's a driveway. I mean, I don't understand. That seems like a very petty sort of thing to do. But her biggest issue is that other farms that are selling things have a similar driveway to hers, and nobody's doing anything about it. They feel like she's being picked on. What would you say to something like that? Like, as far as the farming in this area, farming is a wonderful thing. Obviously, it's essential to human existence. It's important. It needs all sorts of attention, especially nowadays when we're trying to go from traditional farming to more green methods. We're not destroying the soil over and over again, and so we have to use terrible things like Roundup, which has cancer causing agents and glyphosate and so on. And it's just sustainable practices are up and coming. Again, not knowing all the nuances of how the board would tend to those things, what would you say from your personal vantage point about stuff like that?
So farms are actually something that I'm looking forward to doing a lot more with, because I do have quite a few in my district. And the frustrating part for me, as you know, because I've said this several times, I'm knocking doors. Most of the farms, and I'm going to every property that I can, and even the ones that are hard to see, hard to know, is there a house there? GPS says this is it. And the driveway is out to Kishnif. How far? I don't even know what's the end of that. I have been attacked by a couple dogs, so I've learned my lesson there. And then there's been other farms where very, very, very clearly marked, no trespassing. There's a couple that even say, hey, if you can read this, there's a gun pointed at you. So maybe leave. And so I'm like, I'm gonna go.
Okay, bye.
Right. So I have not had the opportunity, and that is their right to say, I don't want to be bothered. I do not want you on my property. Please don't knock my door. Okay, no problem.
100%.
But as a result, I haven't been able to talk to a lot of our farm owners, and I want to. I need to understand what's wrong. So for this particular person, and again, that's where a lot of the outreach will happen. For this particular person, and I don't know the nuance, I really believe that a lot of times zoning is and really, not a lot of times, zoning's for a reason. There's a reason that things are the way they are. So if she was in, let's just say she was in my district, I would say, okay, great, let's talk. She's going to reach out to me, or I'm going to reach out to her, because that's what this is about, constituents. And I'm going to say, okay, help me understand what the issue is. What are you being told? And then maybe it's as simple as, you do not have the right width of a driveway. Maybe a driveway for commercial use must be X wide. I don't know. I'm making this up, but that's something I can see being okay, that's a zoning. If you tick the boxes of the zoning, then you're allowed whatever that might be. And if you don't tick the boxes, you have to figure out, well, this is a box not ticked, and then figure out how to mitigate that so that you can do what you need to do. Sometimes the county can help with that. And sometimes it's going to be your onus to do that. But the least I can do is help them understand, here's what the problem is, and how can we mitigate that? And if that problem is actually on the board side, the county side, that we have to fix, I will help with that. And I will advocate for that, because that's my job, because she's my constituent.
Exactly.
If the other way around, I will help them understand. Here's what you have to do. Now, sometimes these are not going to be, this might not be news they want to hear, but I will definitely help them understand it. Or at least I will understand then what I have to do. So that is what I would do to mitigate something like that.
That's great. That's a perfect response. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. I'm sure she will appreciate that too.
I hope so.
So yeah, for sure. So wow, we've been talking 45 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy? Which I love. No, I'm having a great time. No, I love hearing all this stuff. So okay, well, if you think you've kind of summed it all up, if you don't want to, nothing else you want to add, besides the fact that a week from tomorrow is is election day, folks. Early voting has started last week. In this area, Lake County for sure. I voted already, as I mentioned, and I think I was interesting. It's the first time I voted early, and there was a line. There's lines all over there's like people
all over
are
the county.
chomping at the bit on this election. I hope it testifies to what I think it's testifying to, but I guess we'll find out a week from tomorrow.
Me too. I mean, oh my gosh. I am hearing a lot from people who are maybe clearly going to vote for President Trump, but they really might not go all Republican locally. There's still a lot of people like that. And I hope I've appealed to them as somebody who will represent them. At the very least, I hope people know, and this is what I tell them, especially the folks now, like, hey, I already voted, like, okay, gotcha. And I can tell, oh, you didn't vote for me, did you? So, and I mean, it's going to happen, right? I mean, I have an opponent, and that's cool. I just hope the bottom line, I guess I'll leave with this. Please vote for me, folks. Please vote for me. But if people don't vote for me and I win the election, and if I'm elected as the Lake County Board member for District 2, then whether people vote for me or not, I want them to come to me. I want them to know that I'm their representative, and I will represent them properly, and I will care, and because I already care. So I hope that at the very least people will know I'm here and that this is our job and this is what we'll do.
That's fantastic. Lovely. Thank you so much, Hilary Winiarz.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Candidate for Lake County Board. Everybody, you got a week from tomorrow to get your ballots in.
Woo!
Make it there. I know my mom sent hers in. I think there's some sort of like way of doing that. I might be past the deadline for that actually. But early voting has started. So you can go whenever you want. Early voting is a wonderful thing because I remember when you had to go like on the day of the election. Like I remember that, when after I turned 18, I was like, wow, what a drag. Lines forever. I'm like, what a drag. Early voting is such a wonderful thing.
It's amazing. And I think that you can actually, as long as you are postmarked by 7 p.m. on voting day, it will count. So they got to wait for them to come in, but it'll count. So it's not too late to send in your ballot.
Yeah, but to get it.
Oh, to get your ballot.
I think that's already, I think you had, I don't know if you, I don't know.
Anthony Vega? Anthony? Got a question?
I shared your post yesterday.
Awesome.
So anyway.
Great. Thank you so much for the time talking to you. This is very beautiful. I really enjoyed the conversation. And if I'm not elected, let's talk again anyway. This was fun.
Oh, we're gonna absolutely. We have too much to talk about. So actually, hold on after I end the
okay. All right. Cool.
So everybody, thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Lake County. I'm your host, David Rich. Again, thank you to Hilary Winiarz, candidate for Lake County Board. We will be in touch for sure. See you next time.